Good morning. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Therese Butler, and I'm the Senior Vice President for our Homeowners Association. Before we begin today's presentation, just 2 reminders. First, if you haven't done so already, would you please put your phone on mute or turn it off? That goes for my group up here too. Thank you. Secondly, I would like to remind you that we will have this presentation on the HOA2's website this afternoon so that you can review all of its information and content. And I tell you that just so you don't try and copy down a bunch of information, because you'll be able to, like I said, go back and look at it, take your time and do whatever you want with it at a later date. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you the individuals who have donated and devoted so much of their time to the effort. First, the Golf Task Force members. This group has been together since April of 2016 and have worked tirelessly on the analysis of our golf courses. Here today are Susan Richards, Rick Cole, Manny Medeiros, Joyce Howard, Byron Cotter, and Tim Butler. Not present today are John Michaels and Mike Brenny. They were the co-chairs and had some other things that needed to happen this morning. Secondly, I'd like to introduce the Transition Negotiating Committee, who then took the information that was put together by the Golf Task Force and carried it into golf course negotiations with Saddlebrook Development Company and Saddlebrook Utilities Company. And those individuals are Mike Collins, Diane Ashby, Bob Kalinda, Vince Gwizdowski, and myself. One thing I would like to just reiterate is, a moment ago I said that we went into negotiations with Saddlebrook Development Company and Saddlebrook Utilities. And I didn't say RCI. And the reason I'm being careful about that is that RCI, Mr. Robeson, has more than 200 corporations. And so the specifics of who our contracts would be with, who our purchase agreements would be with, are those 2 entities, Saddlebrook Development Company and Saddlebrook Utilities. And I'll try and use those terms today, but sometimes, because we always have just all said RCI, sometimes I might accidentally slip into the other mode. Okay, so let's go over today's agenda. First of all, we'll describe what is for sale. Then we'll describe why to even consider the sale. We'll present the negotiated terms and conditions. We'll give you an overview of financials, both historical and our 5-year future projections. We'll then make recommendations. We'll overview the pros and cons. We'll present a timeline. I'm sorry, there's some background noise that was coming through. And then we'll hold a Q&A. At this time, I would ask you to please hold all your questions until the Q&A, because as the presentation progresses, I'm sure most of your questions will be answered. For whatever reasons, whether to purchase or not purchase the golf courses is an emotional issue. As we cover the information in today's presentation, I ask that you try and listen with an open mind to everything that is presented, so that you will have all the information you need to make an informed decision. Because remember, it will be your decision as to whether to acquire the golf courses or not. So, what is for sale? The Preserve and Mountain View Golf Course is approximately 363 acres, 2 golf course maintenance facilities, all golf course maintenance equipment, albeit majority of it needs replacing and it is budgeted, and all golf carts. There are probably some of you who question why we should even consider purchasing, and here are some reasons why. First and foremost, to maintain our home values. Secondly, to control 73% of the entire green space in our association. So let's not confuse what I'm trying to say here. It is not 73% of all the acreage in HOA 2, but what it represents is that all the acreage that we call green space, the golf courses represent approximately 73% of those areas. And then also to maintain the viability of the golf courses as an amenity for marketing Saddlebrook 2 as a premier adult community. A little later in the presentation, I will present information that describes the impacts associated with each of these factors. So why is this green space we're talking about important? If you recall, in April of 2015, we conducted a survey in preparation of developing our strategic plan. We had over 2,800 homeowners respond to that survey, which is over 54% of our homeowners. This is an incredible response rate for a survey. You never expect more than, if you're lucky, 28 to 32%. What it means is this community cares. It cares about who we are and where we're going. One of the questions associated on the survey, in which a huge 88% responded positively, was a question with regard to golf courses. And these respondents were golfers and non-golfers alike. They thought that the beautiful views, the lifestyle, and the long-term viability of the golf courses are very important to our homeowners association. And people thought that before we ever even realized how much acreage those golf courses represented to our green space. Negotiated terms and conditions. The next portion of the presentation will cover the actual terms of the potential acquisition. Keep in mind that the Transition Negotiation Committee was looking at the needs of the entire community during the negotiations in order to provide value to all of us. As we proceed, this will become clearer. However, during the last couple months, when we've been trying to give you updates as to where we are, we have been saying that the biggest factor to negotiate was a water deal. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover what the water issue is and then what the solution is. First of all, what is the water issue? To begin with, water is the second largest expense in running a golf course. The only expense greater than water is labor costs, or our labor costs. Secondly, there are two types of water. There's potable and affluent. Potable is drinking water. Affluent is treated wastewater that is suitable for golf course irrigation. Saddlebrook Utility Company is the supplier of both types of water to our community. And depending upon where you live in the HOA, you'll recognize the names Lago del Oro Water, Ridgeview Utilities, and Saddlebrook Utilities. Potable is much more expensive than affluent to use at the preserve due to additional regulatory fees that it incurs. The area known as the preserve, both the residential areas and the golf courses, fall under, and this is a mouthful, the Central Arizona Groundwater Replenishment District, which its acronym is CAGRD. When the remainder of HOA 2, HOA 1, Mountain View Golf Course were developed, CAGRD didn't exist. And so the regulatory fees associated with CAGRD don't impact the Mountain View Golf Course. Historically, it's been extremely difficult to get affluent to the preserve. And the reason that's important is that affluent water does not face CAGR fees and is vital to the economic stability of the preserve golf course. The water issue is really very complex, and we tried to reduce it down to 2 slides, simply that it just is overwhelming, and I would lose most of you because I had to review it over and over again to understand it. So what we have done is, by this afternoon on our website, there is a white paper that goes into more detail to try and provide an explanation of how this district assumes such a vital role in the costs for water. So what is the water solution? First of all, Saddlebrook Development and utility companies have agreed to install and pay for a new pipeline to get all possible affluent to the preserve. There is a small pipeline right now, but it is not sufficient to get the water that we need up there. It's estimated that the cost for the pipeline will be approximately $700,000 to build. Saddlebrook Development Company will build it, they will own it and maintain it for the life of the golf course. The pipeline will reduce annual water regulatory fees by approximately $150,000 at present time and even greater amounts in outlying years. If we had not been able to negotiate this deal, we would not have been able to move forward with the best interests of all of us, and you wouldn't be here today, because this was a deal breaker. One of the things that I'd like to mention is, in the 3rd bullet, I talk about the $150,000 fees. If you're somebody who is going to be looking at the financials associated with this, I need to point out that CAGR's regulatory fees aren't going to show up in the water expense line. CAGR fees you pay in arrears after you know how much water you've used for the year. And then in your next property tax bill is your fees associated with CAGR. So if you're going to be looking at the numbers, you need to look at the property tax line and not the water expense line. So let's go through the rest of the negotiated terms. As previously mentioned, HOA2 homeowners will receive both golf courses, the maintenance equipment, and the golf course maintenance facilities, and all the golf carts. In addition, we will receive deeds to the existing Ridgeview pickleball courts and the land adjacent to it to build 6 to 8 additional pickleball courts. We will be guaranteed 100% of the available affluent water. That means before any other golf course around here gets that affluent that's produced, it will go first to the preserve to the levels that we need. If it's a positive vote and we choose to acquire these golf courses, the acquisition or the closing date will be simultaneous with transition. In addition, RCI has agreed in writing to not vote their lots for this vote. We realize this is a contentious issue for many of our homeowners, and the Transition Negotiation Committee was able to convince Mr. Robeson not to vote his lots in this very important vote. So what will the cost be to the HOA to acquire the 2 golf courses, all of the equipment, and the deeded pickleball land? It is $2 million, and it's due at transfer of title. The $2 million baseline was a non-negotiable price as far as RCI was concerned. We tried very hard, but they were adamant on that $2 million number. So based on this realization, the negotiating committee then worked to reduce the impact of this amount by acquiring assets to offset this $2 million fee. So the potential savings to the HOA are threefold. Pipeline construction of $700,000. That was a negotiated item. It was up in the air who was going to pay for it. And Saddlebrook Development Company and Utilities finally said that they would. Secondly, if we purchase the golf courses, we won't have to relocate our common areas maintenance yard. For those of you who don't know it, our common areas maintenance yard shares facilities with the Mountain View Golf Course maintenance yard. If we don't purchase the golf courses, then we will have to vacate that area because the RCI will be selling those golf courses to a third party, and we will not be able to co-locate in an area owned by a third party. So in addition to $250,000 that we would not have to spend, the only viable area to put that common maintenance yard is where the additional land is to build the pickleball courts. So there would not be, there won't be additional pickleball courts. Third, the deeded developed land. That pickleball court land and the area adjacent to it is about 4 acres. In this market, in this area, undeveloped acreage runs about $40,000 an acre. We're being very conservative with $160,000 because this land is developed. It has its water, its sewer, its electricity, it has all its utilities. So what's the bottom line to each of us as an association? The net acquisition cost to the HOA is about $890,000. And not included in that is the fact that we'll have annual water fee savings of approximately $150,000 a year. Below is the footnote, and I know it's small, so I'll tell you how we're getting to that number. First of all, we talk about a $2 million base cost. Then we talk about the fact that we will not be building that $700,000 pipeline. RCI will be building it. And then we'll have $160,000 in savings because we won't have to purchase the pickleball land. In addition, we won't have to build a new common areas maintenance yard, which would be an immediate $250,000 outlay. And that is where we come up with an $890,000 net acquisition cost. So the next question is, well, how would we fund this? How do we come up with the money? First of all, we'd borrow $2 million from our own reserve fund to fund the purchase. We'd repay this over 20 years. That would be $100,000 a year, because it ensures, first of all, that in any one given year, it's not that much of a hit to any of us, but it also ensures future homeowners pay their share for the courses. Before we chose this, there was much analysis done as the route to go, and we asked the Finance Committee to review our reserves and our reserve structure and what would be needed over the next 20 years in our reserves at any given time. And they have said that there would be no negative impact on our reserves during that period if we were to go ahead and borrow the $2 million now. So you might question, well, why would we borrow from ourselves? Our CC&Rs, which are our governing documents for very conservative investments on our reserve funds. In 2016, our return on approximately $6 million was $31,000. It's not a lot, okay? The best business loan that was available for us was from Mr. Robeson himself. He was willing to loan us $1 million at prime plus 1% with a carry of no more than 5 to 7 years. And then the additional $1 million we would have had to come up with at the time of closing. Quite honestly, the HOA, we save more money by borrowing interest-free money than in obtaining a loan. So right now, we'd like to talk about the following benefits that were not part of negotiation, but are additional benefits that would occur. The first thing is the HOA will build a new, smaller pro shop, 1,000 feet, 800 square feet. Thank you. I'm used to talking big numbers here, you know. And it'll cost about $150,000 to build. But the funding for that will come out of our Community Improvement Fund. That is the fund that went into action last July. Between the money that's in the fund now and that we will have by the end of this year, it will more than cover that expense, so there won't be an out-of-pocket expense to homeowners. Secondly, the existing pro shop will become much needed additional meeting space. Third, the existing Mesquite Fitness Center, which was due to become meeting space, will actually be enlarged. We'll knock out the walls that separate its main area from the area where we store bikes and the like. It will have a floating wooden floor installed to provide additional dance floor space to all of our dancers and an area for post-tournament banquets, which would be additional F&B revenues. In this respect, the Mesquite building will once again become a lovely, vital building with marketing appeal. What I have to say is that right now, when I've talked to realtors, when they're showing potential home buyers all of our amenities, they bypass the Mesquite Grill building. It kind of feels like a tomb when you go in there right now. And so the idea is, with all of this revitalization, it will once again become a great marketable part of our community. So what's the idea behind these additional benefits? First, we want to make the golf course operations as efficient as possible. And the current trend now is to have small pro shops. Quite honestly, as Damon Williams, our general manager, has said, why carry that inventory? We can't compete with the Steinmarts, the Vans, and Amazon. For those of you who golf or want to understand why that inventory is there right now, it's only because for golfers, those who play in tournaments and play with the men's and women's clubs, when they play weekly, they each, I don't know what the pop is, $2 or $3 every time they play. It goes in their kitty. And every week, depending upon what the game is and whatever, there's winnings for people who win. Yeah, but it's winnings. But the only way they can spend the winnings is with pro shop merchandise. And since Saddlebrook Development Company is separate from the rest of our HOA, they have to have merchandise. However, if we own the golf courses, we will be able to let those credits be used to buy Desert View Theater tickets, to buy your fitness classes, to get a gift card, use it in the restaurant, in any of these ways. So we feel it's better to reduce the inventory, reduce that size, and get us a little more meeting space. Second, we think it provides a win-win scenario for all of our homeowners by increasing revenues and providing much needed space for socializing. Once again, in that survey that we did where I showed you the numbers about earlier with regard to that one question, one of the biggest complaints in that survey is we don't have enough space to meet and to dance. So now we'll move on to the financials. The first thing we're going to cover are the historical financials. And this is information that RCI provided to us. They provided us 6 years of annual course profit and loss statements, those from 2011 to 2016. They provided us salary information. They provided us water usage data. And they provided us access to evaluate all the equipment, the structures, the golf carts, and the courses themselves. We then, in our due diligence effort, hired Borders Golf Group. Borders Golf Group is a consulting firm for potential buyers of golf courses or those that own courses. They also buy and sell golf courses themselves, so they understand the industry. So we wanted to bring in professionals to help us with the evaluation. This slide shows the total operations summary, the historical summary for the last 6 years of Saddlebrook Development Company. As you can see from this slide, 2014, 2015, and 2016 were not good years for Saddlebrook Development Company. I have some footnotes that explain what happened. And because, once again, they're small, and I want to give you time to be able to look at that slide, I'm going to run through those. First of all, in 2014, due to bad weather, due to freezing weather that year, the preserve golf course had to be closed for 5 months to replace 6 greens due to freeze damage. That means loss of revenue in rounds, and it also means additional expenses to actually have to rebuild those 6 greens. Then in 2015, it was planned, but Mountain View Golf Course closed for 5.5 months to convert their greens to mini verde grass. Once again, loss of revenue due to loss of rounds of golf, and also the expense of converting 18 greens to mini verde. In 2016, there are two issues that impact that number. The first is that RCI knew by this time that they were going to get rid of these golf courses, whether we buy them or they sell them to a third party. So they started spending a lot more money on the courses, making improvements, doing repairs to get them to the point where they'd be something that would be acceptable on a market. In addition to that, in 2016, at the time that they do overseeding on our courses, so this would have been September of 16, the monsoons lasted quite a bit longer than normal. And so because of that, they had to overseed the preserve golf course 3 times. This is, on a conservative estimate, cost them about $90,000. So they went from being a positive generating cost center to those last 3 years were kind of tough on them. Now we'll discuss our financial projections for the next 5 years. The Golf Task Force had 3 members on the team that were specifically devoted to financials, the analysis of the RCI financials, and then working forward to build our future projections. First of all, when they went to build these projections, we have to start to say there's a different philosophy between an HOA and a developer owning golf courses. You need to understand that a developer builds and owns golf courses for only one reason, and that's to sell homes. And once they get to that point where they're done selling the homes, they don't want those golf courses anymore. However, when a homeowners association owns golf courses, they own them for several reasons. But quite honestly, an association is more interested in operating them in a fiscally prudent manner. And we have a number of strategies that will cover a way to recover that downward trend. And those strategies are marketing, management strategies, operational expense management, and water savings. We're going to spend a little time on the next 3 slides to go over those first 3 strategies. Since we've already covered water savings, we won't go into that one again. First strategy, marketing. Our general manager, along with members of the Golf Task Force and the Transition Negotiation Committee, met with Borders Golf Group for 2 solid days to develop a comprehensive sound marketing report. And by this afternoon, that report will be available on our website for you to review. Components of that are to create a welcoming professional environment at our golf courses, something that's not really known for today. Yeah, Okay. Develop a focused professional management team. What we're going for here is right now, the management of those golf courses is not only concerned about those 2 golf courses, they're concerned about Saddlebrook Ranch. Some of them also have to be concerned about Eloy's golf courses. So the time is so split that we aren't getting the devoted management that we need for our courses. Third, we'd improve course conditions by providing new equipment and attention to detail. Fourth, we'd keep courses semi-private with residents having priority. And fifth, market the golf experience to Saddlebrook residents and only targeted outside individuals and groups. Just a quick thing about the 4th bullet, keeping our courses semi-private with residents having priorities. Having 2 golf courses allows a flexibility that you don't have if you only own 1 course. Because at any given time, even if you're bringing in outside play, whether it's tournaments or just individuals, you have an ability to keep at least one of your courses on any given day only open to your residents, while you may use the other course to bring in additional revenues that if we only had 1 course, we couldn't do. The report contains numerous options for improving revenues. And those options that we feel we could immediately embrace are included in the financial portion of that marketing report. And they will provide the framework for the marketing plan. The marketing report is, as this says, has numerous options for increasing revenues. There's not one huge one. This option might bring in an additional $15K a year, this one $35K, this one $20K. And there's, like I said, there's a lot of them. We only concentrated in this beginning on those that we felt were the low-hanging fruit and had the biggest bang for the buck. But when you look at the marketing plan, you will see that we don't project those revenue increases to come in 2018. And I'll explain why in a little bit. So now let's move on to the next strategy, which is the management team. This is the org chart that our general manager, Damon Williams, the golf task force, and boarders felt would be the most appropriate if we own the golf courses. What most of you might not realize is that Damon Williams, our general manager, is now in his 22nd year as an active member of the Golf Course Superintendents of America. Damon spent over 13 years as a golf course superintendent in golf courses in the Hilton Head area. In addition to that, Damon spent 3 years as a general manager in a very large HOA that didn't just have 2, but had 3 18-hole courses. His knowledge and background is a tremendous asset if we choose to acquire these golf courses. This is somebody who truly knows and understands the business of golf. So let's move on to our next strategy, expense management. Upon review of the RCI financials, several areas stood out dramatically that could result in immediate impact to expenses. So once again, we mentioned that we had boarders come on board to help with our evaluations. And it was actually quite humorous to watch them, as well as Damon, who has so much golf course experience, just shaking their heads in some areas and going, why? Why would you do this? Why in this manner? So we actually believe that we can improve the bottom line in expenses. So once again, they would have procedures for maintaining the courses. We'd also create cost efficiencies by cross-utilizing the common areas maintenance crew we already have, along with the maintenance crews with the golf courses. There are times when you can save a lot of money on a golf course when you can get in, say before the course opens, and get something done in an hour and a half that if you had golfers on that course would take you 3 to 4 hours to do. So it's a tremendous way to save labor by being able to do this big tackle and bring in your other common areas people to help get it done. In addition, we would align with RCI and Borders Golf for strength of buying power and group discounts. Night up where I left off, we talk about also in expense management strategies aligning with various buying power groups. And both of these groups have said that if we align with them, the rebates that come from these types of buying alliances, we would get our rebates. Sometimes they stay within the person who's put the alliance together, but that would not be the case in this instance. We'd also modernize the maintenance fleet. I alluded to that in the first couple slides where I said that we had already budgeted because it was aging materials or aging equipment. In addition, besides these bullets, we would improve current maintenance practices and schedules, as we noted above, to reduce costs. Lastly, the equipment is aged. And what's happening right now is that too much time is being spent by mechanics to try and keep that equipment running. In addition to that, because the equipment is old and aged, it's inefficient. There's much better equipment out today that can take care of multiple processes that currently can't be handled by the equipment that's out there. This will result in lower labor costs. So the next part of financials is to go over the operating and capital projections. So the projections that we have are based on the analysis of 6 years of the historical data, the known financial trends for our golf courses, or for these golf courses, the impact of Prop 206, Hourly Wages Initiative. This has already hit our association because we already had people that were impacted in this manner. In addition, we've received input from our consultants, from our water and HOA attorneys, and various government agencies. The projections include an inflation factor of 2% per year. So once again, the next few slides, we're going to go over the operations and the capital costs. But before we begin, I just want to do a quick review on what the difference is between operating costs and capital costs. So operating expenses, those are the monies you need on a day-to-day and year-to-year basis to conduct the operations of a cost center. And in this instance, the cost center are the golf courses. However, capital expenses are those monies needed on a non-annual basis to maintain a cost center, such as equipment, golf carts, and irrigation. If you're thinking about it in your own home, your operating expenses, your utilities, your food, your gas, and your capital expenses are appliances, re-roofing, re-irrigating. In our homeowners association, these recurring capital expenses are generally funded out of our reserves fund. Every year, a portion of the dues that you pay to the association goes into a reserve fund. And the reason we do that is so just like you have your own savings to ensure when you have to replace that appliance that it doesn't zing you, we need to make sure when we have to spend $1 million to start doing road rebuilds that in no one year are we trying or putting a special assessment out there to take care of it. This is just like having the money in the bank to take care of things. The projections that we're going to show are estimates only. The baseline scenario, the one that you'll see in here in a moment, reflects the best estimate of what we believe the future financial performance of these golf courses will be. However, as always with projections, there are outcomes that could affect the actual financial results. And these include the number of annual memberships sold, the changes in the number of employees, and increases and decreases in major expenses such as water, equipment rental, seed, fertilizer, oil. Once again, projections are always based on the future, and there will always be factors that influence it, that we just don't know about today. So here's the 5-year golf operations expense scenario. I'm going to give you a minute here just to look at the slide. So first of all, how did we get to these projections? We evaluated current management practices and adjusted them to get back to a revenue positive model. But the other thing you can see from this slide, if you look closely, is that we don't expect this to happen in the first year. What we expect, it's going to take several years to get this back to a revenue positive model. But based upon a solid marketing plan, our operation expense strategies, and experienced management savings we're looking at having, we can turn these golf courses around. And I will say that these numbers are conservative and realistic. So the assumptions that went into those revenue numbers, where did they come from? First area there is increased revenue from Saddlebrook residents. So you might say, well, how? Well, the first thing I'll tell you is it's time to bring back our disgruntled HOA2 golfers. Over the last 4 to 5 years, due to unhappiness with the management practices that exist on the golf courses today, at least 60 of our annual dues or annual, I'm saying that wrong. Thank you. At least 60 people who buy annual golf memberships have now taken those over to HOA 1. Think about that. 60 people who approximately are giving $3,200 a year each to a different golf course. Just do those numbers and you can see the impact that we can have if we can bring our own residents back. In addition, RCI does no marketing today. Part of that marketing report shows different strategies that you can use to get more of our own residents to play golf. This year alone, we've already had, through the month of May, 77 resales of homes in our association. We had projected for the budget 140, and we're already looking to exceed that by a lot. What doesn't happen today is that when a new homeowner closes on his home, nobody from Saddlebrook Development Golf Courses are going and talking to that individual or offering them an incentive that says, come try our golf courses. Do you want an annual membership? We'll prorate for the end of this year and we'll even give you a discount on top of that. The idea is that if you have, and the other thing I need to say is, as these resales are occurring, the people that are buying are mostly people who have just recently retired, now have the time and the energy to play golf. So the idea is, if you can get them interested in it, if you offer them a discount to get started, if they build friendships with other golfers, if they join the golf clubs, you now are establishing another base of individuals who will now be playing rounds of golf and bringing revenue into our golf courses. The next line item is increased revenue external. Once again, you can see that those numbers are not as large as they are for our own internal residents. And there's a reason for that. Once again, like we said, we're keeping this a semi-private course. We're focusing internally, but then doing targeted marketing to select groups in order to get them in the door. The revenues also include greens fees increases. Each year for the following 5 years, you're seeing a 50-cent per round increase in the dues, in the greens fees. A big one, a big money saver right off the top is the next bullet, eliminated amusement tax not under HOA ownership. The amusement tax, the tax paid when people pay for their round of golf, is similar to a sales tax, but they just don't call it a sales tax in Arizona. It's called an amusement tax. Development company, because it is a for-profit corporation, has to pay that tax. However, and they include it many times just in the greens fee. However, we as a nonprofit corporation won't have to pay that tax. That's an additional $150,000 a year annually. Conversely, in addition to there being increased revenues, there are areas where, A, if we are going to market, we're now going to have marketing costs that never existed before. Secondly, increased labor costs due to Prop 206. While the expectation is that we will not need as many people to run the golf courses as exists today because of more efficient equipment, the fact is that Prop 206 has an escalator each year for at least the next 4 years. So there is an impact associated with that, and our finance team recognizes it. And then there would be an increased equipment lease cost. So let's move on to our capital items, those items that once again we would pay for generally from reserves. We anticipate there will be some in-ground irrigation, maintenance equipment, irrigation pumps and controllers, replacement of greens, golf carts, bunker replacements, chemical storage and fuel tanks, and general maintenance building upgrades. The total estimated over that 25 years is approximately $12 million. And these numbers are in current numbers. So how would we fund our future capital items? Similar to our reserve fund for the rest of the homeowners association, we'll need to reserve funds for the golf courses. The Golf Task Force recommends funding reserves at approximately $400K a year for the first 10 years, actually $560,000 in the first year to cover those immediate capital requirements. Once again, we need to replace some of that old maintenance equipment. What this does is it provides enough money for big project years without having to go to special assessments to do that. As you saw on the previous slide, we've modeled out the cost for a 25-year period. If you go back and review the slide, you're going to say, wow, some of those look a lot. That's because in a 25-year period, some of those items may need to be replaced, and maybe are going to need to be replaced twice. But other items are never going to need to get replaced. So that's why you'll see some variations in there. So, the drum roll. What is the financial impact to each of us as a homeowner in this association? Considering the golf course financial projections that we've showed you, and the fact that we now have an HOA2 draft 5-year financial plan, the financial impact to homeowners is expected to be the following. In 2018, a one-time special assessment of $185 per household. And this is to cover those immediate capital expenditures we need to do. This is a one-time special assessment, and it's $185. So what is the impact on annual dues? Okay, I have to tell you that I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but I've actually heard some rumors. I've heard anywhere from $1,000 or this or that. Anyway, golf, like any other amenity, will now become part of our HOA budget and operations, and will be taken care of through our budget. We anticipate that a 2.8% annual dues increase for the next 5 years will cover all the expenditures we need, not only for golf, but all the rest of our homeowners association. However, if you're like me and math isn't really your forte, what does that mean in dollars? It means that we anticipate each year for the next 5 years to not have to raise dues by more than $60 a year. So in 2018, what that would mean is our dues are currently $1,980. In 2018, they'd go up to $2,040. And then in 19 to $2,100. To get to the point is, What I'm saying is our dues are currently 1980, and 5 years from now, we project that our dues may be $300 a year more than they are right now. That covers everything. However, we also believe that's a worst case scenario. And the reason for that is that, as you know, last year we voted and we put in a capital improvement fund. And every year when the budget's being built, whoever the board members are at that time, they will decide how much of the money that comes in through that capital improvement fund every year, how much we leave in that one account for capital improvements, similar to what we'll use to build that new smaller golf course facility, pro shop, versus how much will go into our reserve fund. Every dollar that's put into the reserve fund through the capital improvement fund means that's one less dollar out of our dues that has to be used for getting through our reserve fund. So consequently, the 5-year plan that's being developed is currently being developed without it's not even looking at the capital improvement fund. It's off to the side. So that means that these were what we believe to be the worst case scenario. I truly believe it will be less than that because you have to take into account that capital improvement fund. So I'm going to move on if everybody's comfortable with this slide. All right, thank you. So our recommendations and rationale. The Golf Task Force and the Transition Negotiating Committee recommend that we purchase these golf courses. We believe it to protect home values. We believe it because it will preserve the community and our green space. Excuse me. Yeah, that's right, I'm sorry. It'll eliminate risks associated with third-party management or ownership, and will maintain control over an important amenity. You'll notice that the first factor we put up there is to protect home values. And the following slides will show how golf ownership does just that. So what are the consequences of a non-purchase? First of all, we'd be at a significant disadvantage to sell real estate, to sell our homes, without the assurance that the golf courses would always be maintained. If it's a third party that owns these golf courses, there's never the assurance that, well, you may have a good third party today, they sell the course and something else could happen. So communities that already have a solid understanding of who's going to own those golf courses have a distinct marketing advantage over our community when it comes to resales. In addition, the potential with third-party ownership is you could have blighted landscape, you could have decreased home values, you could have third-party demand for financial support from the HOA, you could have litigation, as well as dissension. As I mentioned earlier, by this afternoon, we'll have a number of documents on the website that you can review. We'll have a document that has links to various articles that will show examples of some of these potential issues that could occur. There's also a number of scanned articles that will be on the website that also has meaningful information about these factors. What we're trying to say is that because we have the potential for these things to happen, we want you to see that this is based on real information. However, right now I'd like to show you some examples of nearby Arizona communities where these situations have actually become a reality. We're going to cover first Ahwatukee Lakes. This is a community, an HOA, with approximately 5,200 homes, and it's in the Phoenix area. Their golf course was closed by their developer in 2013. The golf course owner is currently in litigation with the association to change the covenants to allow for development of that area that was a golf course. That is been in litigation for a while. It looks to hopefully make it through. It keeps building through the courts. And it's very potential that this summer it will be the Arizona Supreme Court that will rule on this. So even if they rule in favor of the association, think of the hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been spent on lawsuits or just on the litigation and attorney's fees. Okay, I'm now going to show you a couple of slides to show you how Ahwatukee Lakes Golf Course looks today. This is their green space. You can see in the background what used to be a pond. There's no fountain coming out of that pond anymore. We're going to talk a little bit now about Kanoa Hills. Kanoa Hills is just south of us in the Green Valley area. And now we're going to show you an example of an HOA being held hostage by a third-party owner. This course closed in 2013 due to lack of maintenance from the third-party owner. The third party actually offered to sell the course to the HOA because he wanted out. The HOA declined to purchase the courses. He turned off the water and walked away. So this first slide shows you what Kanoa Hills, this one golf course, looks like today. Another picture of their golf course. And yet another picture. So these two situations show what could happen to approximately 73% of our green space if we were to encounter one of these situations. So not only does the area go brown, you have tremendous overgrowth. So what's the impact? What's the impact to a homeowner who lives in a golf course community if this happens? So first of all, residents from Ahwatukee Lakes, that first set of slides I showed you, indicates that their homes have declined 20% in value if you lived on the golf course and 10% in value if you lived off the golf course. In addition, a 2015 study by the University of Nevada suggests that when a course closes, if you have your home on the golf course, you will lose between $26 to $32 per square foot. And on a 2,000 square foot home, that's anywhere from $52,000 to $64,000 loss in your home value. Additional studies show that golf course adds about 10% to the value of an off-course home, even more to a home on a golf course. In Saddlebrook, an average off-course home is 2,300 square feet and sells for about $300,000. If you were to take a 10% loss on that, that's a $30,000 loss in your home value. Because you saw these pictures, because you saw Ahwatukee Lakes, these are realistic scenarios, and this is what happens. So now, what's your ROI? What's your return on investment? About at the end of 5 years, you could potentially be paying about $300 more a year in your annual dues. It would take you 100 years at $300 a year to equal the potential $30,000 loss that could result from them closing. And quite honestly, I know some of us still like to think we're pretty young, but I know I'm not going to be here for 100 years. Golf course closures have created declining home values in similar communities. Whether they'd be more or less in our community is an unknown. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the purchase versus non-purchase. First of all, if we purchase the golf courses, we're protecting our homeowner values. Secondly, we're protecting our lifestyle and that green space, which, as our survey reflected, is very important to us in this community. We'll preserve golf courses as an important amenity to the Saddlebrook experience. One of the scanned articles that you can view on the website is actually an article that was in the AZ Daily Star in May. It was in an advertising supplement in the real estate area, but it was an article about how you would go about deciding which homeowners association's community that you want to buy in. And basically it said that the more amenities that a community has, the more appealing that it is. So if one of you is a golfer, but one of you is a pickleballer, isn't it nice that you have both of those amenities? First, same thing holds true. That article specifically names Saddlebrook as one of the communities that is rich in the number of amenities we have. That's a big selling point. Next, pickleball courts and the fact that we would be able to have 6 to 8 more courts. Next is cross-utilization of the golf course lands. For example, walking on them in the non-playing hours. HOA 1 allows their homeowners to walk on their courses. Saddlebrook Development Company does not, and if a third party were to own these courses, they are not going to allow that either. A greater ability to marry the marketing of golf courses and banquets. In other words, because we would want to bring in some outside tournaments, we'd also be getting additional revenues in the F&B side because you always feed people when they have a tournament. Once again, we'd have more dance floor space due to the fact that we'd have a smaller golf pro shop. We would control our destiny, and you would have a one-time assessment of $185. So a non-purchase, potential loss of property value of at least 10 to 20%. Think back to those slides of Konoha Hills and Awatuki Lakes. Somebody else would control our green space, 73% of it. We'd have a $250,000 immediate outlay for a new common areas facility, which also means there would be no additional pickleball courts because that's the only viable place to put that facility. Decreased marketability of the community. We did cover this. If people don't know when they are looking at a resale or a new home, who's going to own those golf courses, they're going to think twice. Our biggest competitor right now for home sales is 4 miles up the road, and it's called Saddlebrook Ranch. And the people there know that for at least the next 15 to 20 years, who's going to own those golf courses? That gives them a distinct marketing advantage. Potential ransom by a third-party owner. This is, once again, we talked about with Konoha Hills. It's like, you aren't going to buy it, I'm walking away. But we also have links to other articles that are on the website that talk about Skyline Ranch. And Skyline Ranch is right here in Tucson. Thank you, Skyline. Oh, Country Club, excuse me. Okay. Anyway, how that third-party owner told the homeowners association that if they wanted their course kept green, they'd now need to start kicking in monies in order to do that. And then RCI maintains control until they sell it, so there would be no cross-utilization. We believe the golf courses are a win-win for our entire community. So what happens now? Where do we go from here? First off, this presentation and live streaming and numerous documents that I've been discussing relating to the golf courses will be available on our website as of this afternoon. Some of the other documents included in there will be the golf course evaluations that were done on both courses by Borders Golf Group, the marketing report that was done and the financials associated with that report, our 5-year projection financials in full detail, the white paper on the water issue, and the letter of intent. The letter of intent was, as we had We didn't mention it yet today, but when we first announced that we were ready to do these presentations, we talked about we finally had signatures from both parties on a letter of intent. Basically, the letter of intent is our negotiations to date, so that when you looked at the terms and conditions on the screen, you know that when you look at that letter of intent, both parties have agreed to those. If the answer is yes to buying these golf courses, those are the foundations for the actual legal documents that become the purchase agreement. In addition, if after reading the information on the website, and we will have a Q&A session now, but if you still have additional questions, you can go to this email address, gtf@saddlebrook2.com, and post your question. We have people monitoring that site daily, and they will forward that question to the subject matter expert, and you will get an answer. And we will be updating our frequently asked questions document so that the questions that seem to be pretty common will also be available on our website for you to review. In addition, members of the task force and the negotiating committee are available to answer questions in group settings. So if you have a unit meeting, or if you don't normally have a unit meeting, but you're going to ask your unit rep to have a special meeting to talk about this, we will be there. If you're a club and you want some more information, we will be there. And you use that same email address to request that. If, after doing all these things, you still have questions, we're going to take care of you. On Monday, June 26th and Tuesday, June 27th, we will be having 2 additional town halls. We won't be redoing this presentation. What we'll be doing is covering all of those frequently asked questions that are going to be coming in through the website, as well as addressing any additional information you're requesting or any feedback that you would like to give. Tickets for those town halls will be at the admin office. Once again, we want to ensure that we're staying within fire code. Early next week, we'll do another email blast when they're actually in the office ready for you to pick up. We're only right now scheduling 2 of those sessions because we believe that that's all we'll need. However, if as people are picking up tickets, it seems to be more popular than we think, we'll add enough sessions so that everybody can come in. So now we'll cover the voting process. First of all, similar to all of our other elections, there's 1 vote per household in good standing. The ballots will be mailed out today. In addition, if you are traveling and you're unable to receive your ballot by mail, the ballot and ballot instructions will be available at sbhoa2.org beginning June 19th, or you can simply email Diane Flores, and she will email you back a ballot and ballot instructions. However, I caution you, please only get your ballots this way if you absolutely cannot receive it through the mail. And the reason for that is similar to all of our other elections. When you receive your ballot in the mail, you'll receive the ballot instructions, the letter of intent, and the return envelope. And that return envelope will have the spot where you need to sign the return envelope and you need to put your unit and lot number on there. My fear is that if people are going and pulling it down from the website, even though we'll have the instructions to tell them to sign in unit and lot, I'm afraid people are going to forget. And if you forget, we cannot count your vote. So please, if you're any way possible, get the one you're going to get in the mail within the next couple days. So ballots can be deposited in the ballot box in the Mountain View Clubhouse until 4 p.m. on July 21st. That's more than a month away. If you're going to mail your ballot in, it must be postmarked by July 21st and received by July 28th. The ballots will then be counted and the results announced on Monday, July 31st. The decision will be based on 50% plus 1 of the vote, And as a reminder, Mr. Robeson will not be voting his lots. In conclusion, in April of 2016, your fellow residents in the Gulf Task Force embarked upon a monumental effort to research, analyze, and debate the financial impact of owning the preserve and Mountain View golf courses. In December of 2016, you then elected a transition negotiation committee to carry the interests of our HOA forward with Saddlebrook Development Company. The result of this tireless combined effort is a document called the Letter of Intent, which outlines the key terms and conditions for the sale of these golf courses. The golf courses are an integral part of our lifestyle, whether you golf or simply enjoy the views. The Golf Task Force and the Transition Negotiating Committee are fully supportive of the acquisition of these golf courses. We say, let's stay in control of our destiny and vote for the purchase of these courses. Thank you. What? Oh, I forgot to mention, once again, I should have mentioned it on the voting page, that this vote is a one-time vote. If the vote comes back no, there will not be a second round of negotiations with Saddlebrook Development Company. He will then put it on the market to a third party. Just want everybody to understand that there is no second round. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open the floor up for questions. As you see, we have a microphone on each side of the auditorium. We ask that when you come forward, you ask one question each time at the microphone. And once that question is answered, you'll just need to go to the back of the line. You can ask multiple questions, but we ask that you only do one at a time. When you state your question, please state your name and your unit and lot number. And there is a limit of 2 minutes per question. Thank you. Coming up on the stage right now are the members of our Transition Negotiating Committee and the members of the Golf Task Force. Before we begin the questions, each one of them is going to take just a moment and introduce themselves, tell you what it was or is their role is, as well as give you an idea of their backgrounds so that you understand the brain power that exists or the brain trust that we have on the stage. Thank you.
My name is Bob Kalinda. I live in Unit 47, and my role has been part of the Transition Negotiating Committee and also dealing with the water issues. The man next to my left has been my mentor when it comes to everything dealing with water and golf courses and all the regulatory agencies in the state of Arizona.
Hi, I'm Rick Cole. I'm on the Golf Task Force. I live in Unit 27. On the Golf Task Force, I've been involved with water issues and some finance.
Hi, I'm Susan Richards. I'm on the task force. I worked on home values and communications.
Good morning. I'm Andy Medeiros, Unit 36. I'm part of the operating committee that deals with equipment and so forth, anything that has to do with golfing and growing grass.
Hi, I'm Tim Butler. I serve with Manny on the subcommittee, the operations subcommittee on the Golf Task Force.
I'm Diane Ashby. I've been on the Transition Planning Committee, the Strategic Planning Committee, and now I'm on the Transition Negotiation Committee, currently focusing on home values.
Byron Cotter. I'm on the Golf Task Force, and I've been involved on the financial analysis end of that.
I'm Vince Gwiazdowski, currently a HOA2 board member and treasurer. Prior to that, I was on the finance committee for 3.5 years, the strategic task force, and a couple other things I can't remember right now.
I'm Joyce Howard. I'm on the Golf Task Force, and I participated on the finance subcommittee.
Mike Collins. I'm on the Transition Negotiating Committee, and I've been on the Finance Committee for the last 6 years, 3 years as chairman.
Okay, now I'm really irritated with my teams. And I will tell you why. Because what they didn't tell you in this presentation, that on this floor or on this stage, in the finance area alone, you have 2 MBAs, a CPA, people who have spent their entire careers in huge corporations, big name corporations, either as assistant controllers or controllers. These people know their stuff. In addition, for the people who were on the operations side, I can tell you that at least one of those individuals has both an undergraduate and a graduate degree in plant sciences and has spent more than 37 years in the ag chem industry. This person knows chemicals that would go on a golf course as well as grass. And I could go on with the doctorate in chemical engineering, but for some reason, they're laying low. So anyway, I just wanted to give you an idea of who we've had working for you over the last year. And then I was told yesterday that when I said that my job was herding the cats, that they told me that really wasn't enough. So I'm on my 4th year on the board. My background is information technology. I've served as the CIO for one of the largest departments in the state of California. And I'm also a PIMP. I'm a project management professional. That's the acronym. And I've spent many years running multi-million-dollar projects for the state of California. And that's what we bring to the table. So now, what questions can we answer for you?
Ted Harrod, Unit 14. With all this power, I hate to ask this question. Simplicity is, the bottom line is that we have $185 one-time charge and a projected maximum $25 a month increase in our dues. It's a simple question.
You got the first part absolutely correct. It's a one-time charge of $185 and then a potential dues increase of $60 per year.
$50 per year?
$60, I'm sorry.
Per year?
Per year, which is do the math.
5 times 12, $5.
5 times 12, 60.
I can't hear, I'm sorry.
Okay, you had said an increase of your dues of $25 a month. And what we're saying is in year 1, the increase is $5 a month. Because
$5 a month, yeah.
It's 60 for the year, and if you divide that, it would be $5 per month.
5 times 12 is 60. He was taking it down to a monthly level.
Right.
Okay, this side, please.
Yes, I'm Bob Russell, Unit 24. First, I'd like to thank you for doing a thorough job on this. And I'd also like to say, when I first came here, I played at Canola Hills, and believe me, it was a lot different looking from what you showed in that picture. Since my background is financial, I have about 4 or 5 financial questions. So I'll go to the end of the line after each one. The first one I have is that I know that Homeowners One had substantial assessments to improve certain conditions of their golf course, mainly to do with the sprinklers, the water piping and the sprinkler system. How can we assure ourselves that we aren't going to have that type of large assessment? I understand you have a capital improvement fund, but how can we assure ourselves that the conditions of the golf course don't require very large capital improvements to get it into a good working order?
We have what is called a reserve replacement fund that we contribute to every year, and we build that fund based upon expectations of what major expenditures will be down the road. So everything we talked about in terms of the dues increase and that, it'll cover what we contribute to our reserve replacement fund to be sure that we have the funds in place when major expenditures hit.
How much do we have in that fund right now?
Around $6 million, about $5 million, excuse me.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, this side.
Hi, John Lauder, Unit 49. The water coming from the sewage treatment plant that was to be dedicated to the preserve, where is that water going to now? And by taking the water to the preserve, are we creating an issue with either Mountain View or HOA 1?
The water that's going, the effluent coming out of the Saddlebrook Utility Company, some of that water is going to the Mountain View, some of it's going to the preserve, some of it's going to HOA 1 golf course. Our plan is to get all of the effluent up to the preserve because Mountain View is not subject to those KGARD fees, whereas the preserve is, and KGARD fees are not involved with effluent.
And do we have an issue then with HOA 1 if we're taking water that used to go to them?
We will probably find out.
Actually, what I would say is this HOA won't have an issue. HOA 1 may have an issue with Saddlebrook Development Company or Saddlebrook Utilities. However, any documents that we've reviewed and our water attorneys have reviewed show that nobody right now, no golf course, no HOA has priority over the effluent.
Yes, Don Grimm, Unit 45, Lot 116. Again, I would echo previous speaker, thanking everyone for the time and the tall task that you've taken on. I know how difficult some of these things can be and how time consuming. My question is this: was any consideration given to a third scenario, which would be to own the golf courses, but to have them professionally managed by an outside golf management company?
Yes, we have. And we had Troon come in, and I wasn't involved in it, but our co-chair was, and he had to leave. So he gave me the packet. And generally, we would have to pay a six-figure number to Troon, and they asked us not to reveal the numbers or as much as we could. But it would be a six-figure number. We talked about Skyline Country Club. That is being managed by, if I remember right, Arnold Palmer Group. And that fee is public, because we've read it already. It's $600,000 a year to manage that course. This one wouldn't be that high, but they don't do anything. They will recommend people you hire. They'll send an agronomist by occasionally to say, yeah, we need a little more fertilizer here or that. And they say they're buying power. They'll give you that too, that where they buy it in bulk. And so you get it cheaper. But we figure with what experience we have here, and hopefully the people that we hire to replace some people that are currently in these positions, and with our new general manager, not so new anymore, Damon Williams, that we can do it cheaper and better. This is not saying that sometime in the future a board may change its mind, but right now that's where we're at.
One other thing, we talked to Troon, and we are not making available on the website their proposal. However, if you are truly interested in reading it, you can. We'll have it at the administration office, but you must sign a non-disclosure agreement. The reason being is they do not want that information getting into a competitor's hands. Sir.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Howie Fagan. I'm Unit 30. I just know for a fact that golf is a declining industry. That I just happened to type up here the city of Tucson, Arizona operating expenses for 2015. Out of the 4 golf courses there, over $882,000 of losses. I know for a fact that I'm a golfer. I've golfed at the ranch, and I've golfed before at Saddlebrook, that the fees, because you are restricting the golf course to residents, that the fees are quite a bit higher than I would golf like on Golf Now. So my question then basically is this: have you had any other studies shown, besides the golf courses that are run down, that people who have not purchased the golf course Has it been run profitably? Has it been run in decent shape? You showed two examples of golf courses that are run down. My question then is, have you have any other golf courses that are profitable that worked out well enough so they, so that it would be something different than what you just showed today?
Yes, I'll give you a perfect example. Up in Phoenix, Robeson Properties, Sun Lakes, the Ironwood Golf Course is a profitable course, and they did buy, and they chose to buy it.
Well, and do you have pictures of that course?
No, but we could probably download them off the internet. It's pretty easy. It's a pretty nice course up there. Actually, they have several courses up there. I don't know how many. I think two courses up there.
Actually, Rick, I think you mentioned it too. Aren't they one of the courses that's in this month's Arizona Golf magazine? That wasn't you? Okay.
So did the private party buy that course?
No, the homeowners,
No,
the residents purchased the course.
That's what I'm asking. Have the private party bought courses where residents decided that they did not want to purchase it themselves in the area at all, in the Tucson area?
And you're asking if the private party purchased it and it was successful with the homeowners? I want to be perfectly clear before we respond.
Well, that's what I was asking. I was asking if the residents of the homeowners association did not buy the golf course and a private party did, what is the status of that golf course compared to the ones that you showed that are in bad condition?
We know some successful ones. Do we have any other successful ones?
There's 14,000 golf courses in America. If they were not profitable, there wouldn't be 14,000 golf courses. Municipalities, in my opinion, have no business buying golf courses. We're trying to manage golf courses. County governments, city governments should not be in that business, regardless. I live in Oro Valley. I'm a witness of it. Excuse me.
And then also,
most golf courses are profitable or break even. You got a lot of different scenarios in America. A lot of golf course groups are groups of people that have so much money they don't care to lose money on golf. You have that scenario. You have HOAs that are profitable in golf. I ran 3 golf courses in a large community 3 times this size. We broke even or made money every year. So, I mean, it can be done. I've done it.
I'm just going by what Tucson over here was at over almost 3/4.
Let me address part of what he just said about the national trend. Yes, we did study the national trends, and we agree with you. The national trend was down, but we're specifically looking at these 2 golf courses. And if you saw one of the slides, and you'll have a chance to read that again, the number of rounds actually stabilized here. We were not in a decline as we moved down. Now, one of the other things you mentioned about Golf Now, which we took an analysis on and looked at it, we had almost 6,000 the Saddlebrook Development Company on the 2 courses had nearly 6,000 rounds given away to Golf Now that produced no revenue. So we were looking at this saying, this is not a really smart move to promote Golf Now as part of our revenue sources. So the decline nationally, agree. The decline locally, no, we've stabilized especially on our 2 courses.
So these golf courses will not be available online for Golf Now purchasing, correct?
We didn't say that. Damon Williams is going to form the final marketing plan to decide how that is going to work into the overall
Because I know
picture.
on Saddlebrook HOA 1, you cannot purchase a golf course, tee time.
Howie,
I appreciate you can't ask a lot of questions, but I'm going to make one more stab at this.
Okay, I'm done.
And that is, if we're losing 6,000 rounds to Golf Now, why don't we just sell that to you directly instead at a reduced price instead of letting them have the money? We want to bring our Saddlebrook golfers into this golf course affordably. And we don't want you paying Golf Now and we get nothing out of it. We want a win-win for the courses and for the golfers. And we're going to work on that. That's part of the marketing effort.
So for those of you who don't understand the Golf Now revenue model or business model, traditionally their model has been that you give them, well, you can have them put as many rounds of golf per day as you want. But each day you have to give them 2 tee times that are totally theirs. That means each day per golf course, you're giving them 8 rounds of golf that they are making all the profit on. And believe me, those 8 rounds or those 2 tee times have to be during specific times of the day so that they have what they believe are an opportunity to sell those. Then any others are the ones that we would make profit on. However, what Borders Golf Group pointed out to us is there is a new business model that you can partake in with Golf Now, even if we as an association choose to do that. And in that model, you give them no tee times. They don't get those 8 comped tee times per course a day. Instead, they will take a portion of what you put out there, whether it's $3 or $4 for each of those rounds. It's a very different avenue. And if Damon and his team choose to go that way, you know, we'd be doing it to increase revenues. This side, please.
Jim Burke, Unit 47. You mentioned if we purchased the golf course, that we would also get space for 6 to 8 pickleball courts. Would we be responsible for building and maintaining those? And if not, does the pickleball club, are they made aware of this?
I can answer that. They're aware of it now. We could not, because we were in negotiations, we could not go forward with this information. They're now aware of it. We've spoken with Ed Simpridge, gone over some stuff with him, since he's the one who in the past has done the planning documents for them when they've built golf courses. So, thank you, pickleball courses. I don't know, Vince, is there anything else you want to add to that one?
So would we be building the pickleball courts?
I can't answer that because we haven't had any discussions with the pickleball board members.
Now, I don't know if you are a pickleball member, but pickleball does have over $200,000 in reserves right now to apply to courts as needed if that's what they so choose as a board.
Sir?
I'm Bob Bourne from Unit 22. I'm a snowbird and I'm a golfer that plays once, twice a week. So annual memberships don't mean anything to me. I know we were putting a lot of emphasis on trying to get back those 60 members who've gone to HOA2. The Golf Now issue is a very big issue for me because Golf Now, you can book at any time during the day and night. You don't have to do it during the times that the pro shops are open and so forth. When will we know if we're going to be able to use these courses on Golf Now, even if it's $2 or $3 more, you're working some kind of a deal with them. Will we know that before we vote yes or no on this proposal? Because that's a significant thing for me.
What I can say is that it's our intent right now to keep Golf Now, but under the newer business model. However, if you go and you read that marketing report, Damon, help me out here if I screw this up. There are other ways other than just an annual pass to help people who aren't here on a yearly basis get you some type of a pass that is affordable and makes sense.
There have been some annual memberships and things like that. I live on the course, homeowners. I've never been able to book anything anywhere close to as cheap as Golf Now and using these courses with any of the programs that they offer now.
We will develop a wide variety of plans to hopefully fit everybody. It's hard to do, hard to please everybody. I will preface Golf Now by saying that the National Golf Course Owners Association, when Golf Now first came on the scene 12 or 14 years ago, did everything in their power and within their pocketbooks to shut down Golf Now. Back to the previous question of why golf courses are not successful, that's one of the main reasons in America golf courses have been closing. Golf Now has sucked the money out of the pro shops. And it's to their point, it's not, I mean, we gave away 6,000 rounds of golf last year. It's almost $200,000. So, but that we have to relook at that business model with Golf Now.
One
So-
of the, yeah, and I'll just add one thing to that, and then we'll go to another question on this side. If you look at the marketing plan, it also talks about, or the marketing report, it also talks about different scenarios for charging your greens fees. In other words, there's a value to every greens fee. And so as the day goes on, the value decreases. And so instead of just having a day rate, a twilight rate, and is there another rate?
Well, I think they have several rates now, but basically you'll see in that marketing report, it's called a T-sheet yield management. And it's how to actually pull dollars out of every possible tee time throughout the course of the day. And if the residents so choose to purchase the golf courses, the pro shops will not close at 3 o'clock anymore. They will be open later.
Let me try. I feel your pain, and these people are tired of hearing from me because I'm a casual golfer. I play once or twice a week, best. And sometimes I like to play 9 holes. And sometimes it's hot, and sometimes I want some flexibility. And so I'm the trader in this group. I play at Mountain View, I play at the Preserve, and I play at HOA 1 because they give me a good deal. And they let me play 9 holes. So here's the deal. I promise you that when we went through that marketing stuff, we pounded and pounded and pounded, and I personally pounded that there's got to be an avenue for the casual golfer to be welcome and to use these courses. That's going to happen.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay, this side, please.
This is Bob Russell again. I'm still in Unit 24. My second question is, back a number of years ago, there was a lot of rumors about the fact that the Mountain View course wasn't plotted as a golf course, and there could be a substantial fee to do so. But I'm not familiar with any of the details. Is this applicable when we purchase it? And if not, why not?
I think we'll have Tim take that one.
Thanks, Bob. I'm actually glad you brought that up. We do have an answer for you.
Good.
And that is that if we buy the golf courses, according to our attorney, plotting is not going to be necessary for a Mountain View. We already have, there is in existence a Mountain View Golf Course Declaration of Restrictions. It's a recorded document with Pinal County. It contains a legal description, which is a meets and bounds survey description of the golf course. That would be plenty adequate for our needs as an HOA, especially if we buy the golf course, if we buy the golf courses, we will all, at transition, we will own not only the land around the golf course, but the golf course itself. And this legal description is plenty adequate for that.
Okay, I have one more question. I'll let this gentleman go first. My last question. I'm still from Unit 24. My last question has to do with the projections, although they haven't presented yet, just certain assumptions. Now, one of the things you mentioned was that we're going to cut down on the outside revenue from the Golf Now and other places. What percentage of the income that we've had in the past is from the annual dues and the internal fees from Saddlebrook as compared to outside play? And also having to do with the projections, I know that most adult communities, as they get older, they even though you said that we've stabilized, that you get less golf players. Has this been taken into account in the 5-year projection?
About 20% of the rounds are due to outside play, according to the financials that we received from Saddlebrook Development Company. We would have to take some time to dig into this and to get you the exact details. And we can do that for you.
So in the projection, has that gone down in the future from what it was last year?
I will add real quick, Vince, the majority of that, what we're calling outside play, is that Golf Now play. And you've heard two people say that are residents that use Golf Now. The majority of that outside Golf Now play is actually our residents.
Two other things. What I would ask you to do is, like I said, as of this afternoon on our website will be not just the financial projections that you saw today, but the line item by line item, the revenues and expenses associated with that. So you'll be able to see the delineation between outside versus inside play. However, if when you review that, you still have some questions, email them in, because then the finance people will have time to actually get to the analysis and get to the nitty-gritty of what you want. But it looks like Joyce is ready to.
Just a point of clarification. In the historical data that we got from RCI, we cannot see how much of the revenue comes from outside play versus inside play. We can see where the number of rounds come from, but we don't have that connector that says how much did they pay for those rounds.
Well, the information we got from Robeson, has anybody been able to verify that, to see it, or get an outside somebody to verify that that information is correct?
Are you asking about all of the financials?
The financials you got, are they just something that Robeson sent without any verification?
What we got from Robeson was detailed financials for the past 6 years, 2011 through 2016. They gave us the detailed P&L for each of the 4 cost centers, which would be the golf course maintenance, the pro shop, the driving range, and the cart rentals. And then all of the detailed line items, expenses going along with that, and revenue basically in total. So we don't have a whole lot of detail on the revenue as far as inside versus outside, but we do have a tremendous amount of detail, which is available at the admin office for you to look at. And we use that then to make our projections and to get more comfortable with that data. We also looked at other golf courses to see what kind of P&Ls they had, to see if this looked reasonable compared to that. We also had Borders, the outside consulting group, take a look at it. And based upon all of that, we're very comfortable with the information that we got from RCI.
So the information you got was just something they sent you. It wasn't something that they said, okay, you can look at our book, so you can have somebody come in and verify it.
It was their P&Ls from their books.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yes,
I'm back. I'm also a occasional golfer. I've been living here since 2000, and I noticed that the problems that HOA1 courses have. One was that the people were elderly; they stopped playing golf. They would not let other HOA2 people purchase membership there. They wanted their own tee times. They were very persistent on that if you wanted to, and I've golfed there as a guest, to get a decent tee time, you really couldn't. And I'm just assuming that the projections that you made with the golf course, the revenue and how much homeowners will have to pay, is that the worst case scenario? You don't get these people coming back, the 60 people, and the conditions deteriorate where golf is not as popular, and you cannot get enough revenue from the golfers to sustain the golf course and maintenance. How would that affect the homeowners and their dues and their membership?
When we put together the financials, we did look at upside and downside, and what was presented here today was the baseline, which we think is absolutely the best case. But we did look at how much could it be better, how much could it be worse, and we looked at things like, what if we don't get as many annuals? What if we need more people on the golf course? What if we get more annuals? What if our costs go down? So we looked at a lot of different scenarios, and our range for upside and downside is about $200,000. It could be each year better or worse. And that turns out to be about $70 per household.
So instead of $300 as your projection, it can go up to $370 then.
Conversely,
Okay.
there's none. Thank you. This side, David,
Yes.
your turn.
No. My name is David Fuller, Unit 47, Lot 114, 15, 16, and 17. My question is, and I'm all for preserving our amenities. I'm not a pickleball player. I don't play golf, and I don't play tennis. And those seems to be the top three amenities that people look for when they're looking for a community. I guess my question is, and it sounds like we've dabbled on this point a little bit, golf to me seems to have become a dying industry. There's not as many, the older players that can't play anymore are not being replaced by the younger players. And I'm not trying to batter this golf course thing down, but I think we need to preserve those green areas, and we need to, have a nice community that has green areas like this. But has the committee looked at the trends nationally? When people are looking for communities, I mean, that's why Robeson's building so hard at the ranch, throwing in all these pickleball courses, because that's the up and coming thing. Golf is not so much, it's not an amenity that people are looking for as often as pickleball. So my first question or comment is trends in the nation or what's going on. And I know, they're building new golf courses in Cabo and they're building new golf courses but the trends in the United States seem to be declining as far as the issue of golf is concerned and tennis is concerned, and the interest in pickleball is increasing. And my second point on the questioning was, as far as the vote is concerned, is there going to be a concerted effort at getting a hold of the snowbirds that are not here during that voting period of time so that their votes can be counted and they don't return in the fall and go, oh, we had a vote? We didn't hear
Okay, you're done, David. Thank you. We'll
Thank
answer the question.
Okay, David, I'm going to start with part of your question, and we're going to be several of us address it. I was on the strategic planning team, and one of the things we did was benchmark against other retirement communities. And we went looking for communities that serve populations like ours. And we looked at everything from how much homeowners' dues were to what their amenities were. And there wasn't a single one of those that was selling homes that didn't have golf courses. The ones that were most popular also had pickleball and also had a range of amenities. One of the things we did learn is that we have a wider range of amenities than a significant portion of other retirement communities in the Southwest with similar populations and certainly similar locations. So the other thing we found out is we have a location that's pretty different from most of them, but we did our best. So number one, I don't think you're going to find a place without a golf course. People are still coming into golf. As Vince said, we have stabilized our rounds and we have plans for how we can bring those rounds up. We did look at the national trends, but in retirement communities, it's a little bit different than when you're looking at municipal courses. And I'll let Damon answer some more specific questions about that, and then Therese, you can answer about the vote.
I can just add that golf on a national scale has basically stabilized. There were more golf courses opened than closed every year from 1929 was the last year that there were more closures than openings in golf courses until 2007. It was always a positive trend. 2007, they started going backwards a little bit. I was in Hilton Head Market at that point. I spent 5 years in the Myrtle Beach market, which is the golf capital of the world. We were the largest management company in Myrtle Beach. We had 11 out of 110 golf courses. Now there got up to almost 135 courses in the Myrtle Beach market before the crash hit in 2007. Now there's back down around 100. So, I mean, golf has stabilized. The supply and demand has stabilized. You will see in the next 5 to 10 years, numerous courses in this market continue to go out of business. The land becomes more valuable to develop. A lot of times golf courses are built on the fringes of cities. As cities expand, developers look at that land and go, I can put apartments on that and make more steady money than I can with the golf course business. So You know, it's different when you're talking about in an HOA versus outside of an HOA. But to their point, the golf in here has stabilized in the last couple of years. And if you look at the RCI financials that they provided us, I'll add that the negative numbers you see for the last 3 years, they had numerous closures for extended periods of time, meaning loss of revenue. At the same time, they were spending money to actually improve the courses, as the replacement of the greens in 2015. On the whole Mountain View course, they're doing a lot of cart path work on both courses in 16 and still in 17. They don't capitalize any of that. They expense everything they spend. So, you know, if you really capitalized all those infrastructure improvements, those numbers would look way better than they do on their financials. So
I want to go to your second part of your question. I'll answer it. You said, is there a concerted effort to get to the vote? I'm paraphrasing you right there. Before you get to the vote, the most important part of making that concerted effort is getting the message out, getting the information available to everybody. And there was a major effort to do so. This existing board promised a long time ago that we would bring this to the voters, we would inform them adequately so they could have that informed decision. That's why we put these briefings together. That's why we have the golf task force with the website. This is why we're going to respond to every single question that comes into us. Not only that, this is once again part one. We had about 375 people in the audience yesterday on the first briefing with 100 online live viewers, streaming online rather. The second one was about 420 with 78 people. So we are getting the message out, and to the concerted effort to get them to vote, we have approached our attorneys and they have said, yes, we can put these ballots online, and Therese went over this to ensure that no matter where you are in the world, you will be able to download your ballot. And if you cannot do that, we will personally get you with Diane Flores and get her to make sure that you are able to get that ballot one way or the other. Most of the ballots, which I think are being mailed today, again, will be to the majority of the residents that have mail forwarding and things like that. We have made a concerted effort to ask people to sign up on the SBHOA2 website, and we've had a massive increase in the number of people. So concerted effort, yeah, we're concerned because it's your vote. It will be our community and our golf courses.
Question on this side, Jim.
Jim Ryan, Unit 36. Robeson RCI hardball with that $2 million figure. And I thought I heard clearly that it was unnegotiable. I like your response. Did he try to justify that some way? And then if it is true that he gave HOA 1 the golf course, why is it happening?
Go ahead, Vince.
I'm going to ask you to repeat the first part very quickly, Jim. Then I'm going to go into the rumor about HOA 1. Why the $2 million? Okay. 4 times the Transition Negotiating Committee tried to change that number. Mr. Robeson was quite adamant through his chief negotiator, Peter Gershman, the executive corporate counsel for Robeson Saddlebrook Company, and actually Robeson RCI. He actually said that $2 million is it. This is the value I'm putting on it. There's no negotiation, and if you don't like it, I'm going to a third party, or we can continue discussions. That's how hardcore it was. We went back in the following week and tried again, but to no avail. So we had to come up with a different strategy, which was the zero-sum game strategy to get more assets for that $2 million other than just the golf courses. Part 2. I know a lot of people talked about the rumor and the number of assessments that HOA 1 had. Well, I have a list in front of me of the exact numbers from 1999 to 2013. 1999, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 of those in that time period. They rolled into $3,299 per household over that time period. Not all of that money was dedicated to the golf courses. $1,000 of that was dedicated in 2005 to the clubhouse itself, that special assessment. In terms of them, we have the documentation on their transition agreement. This goes back to, did they get the golf courses for free? The answer is no. They were in the transition agreement effective 1 January 1999. The Robeson applied a $4,000 hit per lot. So in essence, Mr. Robeson put equity into each lot. That was not just for the golf courses, that was for all of the transition. So there was no delineation between how much money that was for a golf course or how much money it was for a building or how much that money was for common ground. It wasn't there. If you take a look at that and you add it up very quickly with a little over 2,000 homes, you're talking just under $9 million.
So in other words, they had a special assessment at the time of, no, excuse me. Yeah, special assessment. They had a special assessment in HOA 1 at the time of transition of $4,000 per household.
And that's
For the, that was for the,
and that was how they purchased the golf course from RCI?
That's how they were given equity in the golf courses and the other buildings. So, yeah.
What was that?
Diane said that's how they purchased their freedom.
Okay. One final question. I'm still up to bed, I guess. If we don't buy the golf courses, are we still going to go through transition?
Yes.
Thank you.
That would be a definite yes, that's a sir yes, but it's definitely going to change. It will definitely change the negotiations.
You got a question over here?
Yes, Larry Miller, Unit 47. What guarantee do we have that Robeson will not increase the water rates for the golf course and the homes down the road, if any?
Larry, any increase in water rates has to go before the Arizona Corporation Commission. So he can, like any other utility, go before the commission and request an increase in the water rate. Currently, Ridgeview, which sends water up to the preserve, they're paying 87 cents per 1,000 gallons of potable water and 58 cents per 1,000 gallon of effluent. And then the rest of Saddlebrook is serviced by Lago del Oro Water Company. We're paying 85 cents per 1,000 gallons and the same 58 cents for the effluent. So the process is this. RCI or Saddlebrook Utilities Company would go before the ACC, request a rate increase just like any other utility can. And at that point, we could also invite ourselves to those hearings, provide our input. If they rule in favor of the Saddlebrook Utility Company, we always have the right to appeal that. But you understand water rates are probably going to go up. We just need to keep them in check.
In addition, Larry, one of the other things that we were told by our water attorney is that, and this makes sense, I mean, this is a utility. A utility has to make some money or they're going to go out of business. However, that when they go forward for a rate increase, what we have been told is that they look at their total expenditures and their total revenues. And a utility is allowed to make some profit, but it cannot be above whatever is considered an okay amount. In other words, you are not going to make enough money to break the backs of your customers. That's what we've been told.
Well, also, I don't believe Tim answered this gentleman's question about the platting of the golf course at the preserve. I think you just mentioned Mountain View.
The preserve is platted and zoned as a golf course.
It is?
Yes, it is.
So, but Mountain View isn't.
No, Mountain View is zoned as it's called CR3, CR-3, but because of the covenant that Tim talked about, it must be utilized as a golf course.
Vince, what is CR3, please?
It's a zoning regulation called single family zoning residential, but underneath that, that's a whole series of codes, and you can go to Pinell County and read about 60 pages of really boring descriptions of how that aligns. But the bottom line is it is zoned as open space, and because of the restriction that is registered at Pinell County, it must be used as a golf course. And that restriction was for 10 years. And it is renewable for every year without interruption until ownership change. and it gets renewed again if you want to continue that.
So that won't affect our ownership rights at all?
Not at all.
Thank you. Thanks for all your work. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.